Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, how are we doing this week?
I'm great this week.
We're elated this week here in Baileyton. 2-1 on the season. Exciting win over Jellico. One of the probably most exciting games throughout your tenure here at North Greene. Came out with a big win. We'll jump right into it. There's a lot to talk about. I'm sure this is going to be a very long first half, so for those watching, strap in, get your popcorn, because this is going to be a long segment. Yes, so
welcome to the round table.
Sit down and enjoy, because this one's going to be a long one. But get right into it. Take me through it. Go ahead 12-0. Allow them to take a 14-12 lead. Back and forth all the way until the end, and you get that game-winning touchdown. Just take me through it all.
Well, a couple things that you won't see on the stat sheet is I think we went back and looked. They played keep away the entire night, so they just sustained long drives. It was 8 minutes before we got our first first offensive possession, and at that we were backed up on the 1-inch line. So anybody knows, like, we're just trying to get a first down. At that point, get enough room to punt the ball and then reset and play defense from there. And then we started our second drive backed up too, and then we had about a 12 or 13 play drive and went down and scored on that. So, like, overall, like, statistically, offensively, we're about average, but, like, I was really pleased with the offense because we only had 7 possessions.
All game. It did not seem like that.
We had 7 total possessions. That was it.
Wow.
We scored on 4 of them. 1 we were backed up just trying to get a punt out, and then 1 was at the end of the first half where we were thinking about trying to get after it, try to go down and score, and then a couple penalties pushed us back. So we're like, okay, let's just things aren't going our way right now. Let's just get it to the half because we're getting the ball right back from there. So that's kind of was our thought process there. So 4 touchdowns out of 7 possessions is a pretty good day on offense.
That's a productive night.
Yeah. So pretty pleased with that regard. But kind of starting off, they did a good job of just getting first downs. They kept hitting us right over top in between the zone between the linebackers and safeties. They kept hitting us from there and forced us into some adjustments defensively. They were just getting first downs. Well, defense held pretty well. And then we get a turnover. And we got another 1-yard line. We got to get it out. And like I said, we just try to get a first down, just get enough room to punt the ball. And then defense goes back out, gets another big stop. We're backed up again. And then from that point, we finally start getting things rolling offensively, get a couple completions, a couple first downs. And when we get first downs consistently, we're pretty dangerous on offense because we're able just to roll. That's one thing that's a little different about this team. If you notice, we're pretty up-tempo. We get a first down, we're rolling right into the next play. And a lot of it's because we see a look we like, and then we just keep rolling with it. And that's kind of what happened on Friday. And then we go down and score. And then, again, defense did a great job in the first half, and we get the ball back again. And right after we score, we get a 3-and-out. And then the next offensive play, Brandon Weems takes a 10-yard out for 84 yards, makes one guy miss, and he's off to the races. And he said he needed a break after that play. And I was like, no, just one more play. We got a 2-point conversion. I was like, you don't have to do anything in this play because he was the decoy in this play. Well, just so happened when we went out there, the decoy, nobody went out to the decoy, so we had 6 guys over top of 2 defenders. So Thomas went ahead and threw it out there, and Brandon wasn't quite ready for it. So we're like, hey, it's all right. You just scored an 84-yard touchdown. So, but it was kind of funny from there. So we're up 12-0, and then defensively played pretty well. And then we find, again, they're keeping the ball away in terms of they're running down the clock. So, like, I think it was like either a third or fourth possession. That would be fourth possession. Is we only got about a minute till the half, and we get a big play on first down. So we're like, okay, we're getting ready. Let's roll down the field, and then we get hit with a penalty, and so that brought us back. We're like, okay, we just at this point we're backed up. We don't need anything to happen. We're ahead by 2 touchdowns. Let's just get it to the half. We get the ball back coming out, and then we kept it to half from there. And then coming back out from the half, we had a miss. That was one of the one of our few drives, like we just had to punt it away. We had missed opportunity. Again, a couple penalties. I want to say we had a touchdown called back on that drive because we had quite a few touchdowns called back early, which was frustrating to say the least. But we have one called back, and then we punt the ball away. Defense has been playing pretty well for the most part. We get about halfway through the third quarter, and then they made some adjustments. They started going to a heavier look on offense, so we changed personnel to a bigger deal. We did really well in between the tackles. They got us on 2 plays.
Two big plays by the quarterback.
Yep, 2 plays by the quarterback. One of them, they pinned our forced player inside. He shot inside. He made a mistake, and then he got out of it. He's out the gate, touchdown. On the next one, our forced player, it's 4th and 2. He's trying to make a play, and he tackles the dive. I don't even know if the quarterback was supposed to keep it or not, but he kept it, and he ran out the gate. We had nobody out there. And unfortunately, that kid was supposed to be out there. He made a play try to make a play on 4th down. It happens sometimes in football because to take something away, you have to give up something. That just so happened they hit us right at that point. Well, that was their last touchdown go ahead. But getting to that point, when they scored, because they got to a point where they scored 3 touchdowns unanswered, and then we're down at this point, and we need to go down the field to score with about 5 minutes to go. And the one thing I really liked is like previous teams would have just laid down at that point, and look in their eyes like, okay, we're going down to score now. And we had found a look that we really liked. And we're not quite ready for 2-minute situations because we still got about 4.5 minutes left. And we just ran power. And
it worked.
Chunk play, touchdown. And we ran the same play 3 times in a row.
I think it was 1 minute and 5 seconds that went off the clock in that possession. So, it was quick. Because I thought the same thing. You get the ball back with, I think, 4.5 minutes left in the game, and you've got plenty of time just to do whatever you want, run clock down, and then try to go for the win. But whenever things were just rolling and rolling,
that was the decision there. It's like initially I was thinking, okay, we're just going to take our time.
Yeah.
We're going to run as much clock down as possible and just go down and score because I was confident we'd be able to go down and score. But like when we found them, they were reeling real bad at that point, so we're like, okay, let's just run it again.
Have no choice.
And so we ran the same play 3 times in a row and just went down and scored. And our defense had played pretty well at that point. So I had it in back of my mind. It's like, did we just score too fast? And then that last touchdown on 4th and 2, we had a stop right there. And if we make that stop, I mean, ball game's over. And then they come back and get it. Now we just had a game-winning drive already. Now we have to come back and do it again. One. And I was real proud of how we handled it because there's a couple big plays in that. Number one, when we got the ball, when they scored on that one, they kicked an onside kick. And Matthew Boyd did a good job fair catching it because it was a low kick. He fair caught it, and that was enough to slow them down from being able to get it because they can't touch him now on the fair kick. And he caught it, so we get the ball. Pretty good field position at that point. And then we get a couple good plays, get a first down from there. And then at that point, our playmaker and offense goes down. And the good part about it, like you don't never want to see a kid go down, and luckily everything's fine. But you never want to see that. But at the same time, nobody's head changed. The attitude didn't change. We were still going to go down the field and score. Yep. Leon had been running the ball that game. Now his stats aren't very good from Friday, but
would have been good if there wasn't a penalty.
Yes, it'd been great if it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah.
But so he'd been running the ball pretty well. So we felt confident he'd be able to come in and protect well and do all that. He's been doing a great job. So confidence was still there. Well, coming out the gate, we had ran a reverse earlier in the game. We're thinking, okay, it's about time to pull it out again. They over pursued on our little triple option play we did. Brandon comes back on the reverse, and I swear he didn't step out. But
from my view, of course, I'm on the opposite side of the field where you are. I didn't think he did either. So they called him out on the 8, and then.
But we were still thinking, okay, that's fine. We come right back. We run the ball with Leon. He gets down to the 1 yard line. Penalty.
Yep.
So it brings us back, and then it's like we have plenty of time here. We have all 3 timeouts, so we have plenty of time to be able to get what we need. We take a couple shots in the end zone. We had one of our plays. We ran a stack formation 2x2. We ran a fade hitch, and both sides were open. And this is setting up later. Brandon was wide open.
Yes.
Well, I had told the quarterback, hey, think this side because I like the matchup we had over here because I really couldn't see the other side of the field. But I knew their best player was over there. Jellico's best player on defense was over there. So I liked the matchup we had over here. Well, good ball. The kid just makes a great play on it.
Back right corner of the end zone.
Back right corner. He makes a good play on it. Then from there, we run a little pop pass. Another good play from there. And then there's one play I'm missing, but I can't quite remember what play that was. But getting down to the last play, we got 11 seconds left. We call timeout to draw up play. I had an idea what I wanted to do, and then Brandon comes over. He said, Coach, I am open. He's like, I will make this play. So it's like, and at that point, and I'm a firm believer, like sometimes it don't matter what play call you call. Is like when players believe that they're going to make a play, you got to trust them in that, and that's what we did. Thomas made a great pocket move to give him some time to get open, and then throw a pretty ball right where
beautiful ball. I was right behind that ball, saw it coming the whole entire way.
And Brandon got open, caught it, and that's the rest story. So that was a pretty big deal there. So it was good to see that excitement, and it was good to see that the confidence never wavered. Just went down and did what we were supposed to, and everybody on offense had a little piece. And it's nice to be able. You got your. Yes, you had a great day running the ball, but like Jake did a great job running the ball and receiving.
A few big first down catches too.
Big first down catches, and he wasn't quite as active as he had been. But it's good to see some other guys pick up some slack. They can kind of feed off each other there, but. And Jake had a great day defensively, but it's good to see that. And then we get a good kickoff. Our boy Juan kicked it right at a kid. It bounced off him and goes out of bounds. I thought for a second they were about to hit us with a penalty. I was about to get mad. They pin them back, and then I think they had one play they were trying to draw up with the hook and ladder. We backed everybody up in our prevent defense, and we played it well. And one thing, Thomas, most of the time in that situation, a kid would shove him out of bounds, which is fine. But that particular situation,
you don't want it to happen.
He stopped, he wrapped, he fell back in bounds and pulled him back in. And that was the tackle of the game right there, because that got the clock to continue at least we thought it was supposed to.
That's what I was going to go into next. Last year's game ended with a bit of controversy. This year's game I thought was going to also, because the clock wasn't supposed to stop in that moment, and the clock does stop in that moment.
Well, so the clock does stop
yes.
on first downs, but they did not get a first down.
Exactly.
The ball was in bounds, and even the head official was rolling the clock the entire time. So I was over there losing my mind at that point.
I think that's what brought more excitement to the sideline, though.
Yeah, because
you get a little upset for a second.
Yep.
You get a little heated that the clock stopped when it's not supposed to. And then you look up and you see it magically start again and trickle down to triple zeros, and it's just like, hey, we won.
Yep, we won. So, because the pressure's not off until it's off.
Exactly.
And that's the big thing, is as long as there's time on the clock, we're still in this ball game.
Yes.
So that was a big moment there, and actually being able to celebrate a little bit. And
not just a little bit. That was a big celebration.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting there, because it was an important game. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, every time we play Jellico, it's down to the wire. It's been ever since I've been here. A couple years ago on homecoming, we're having to do a 2-minute drill to go ahead. And then we leave a guy wide open on their last play of the game, and he just happened to drop it. I was like, okay, so we survive it. And then last year, it comes down within the last minute on fourth down. We get the ball stripped. They say forward progress, and then they get literally by a half an inch to get fourth down to be able to keep the ball. So it's was a tight game last year, and then this year to come down like it was. And even when you don't necessarily play up to your capability, it's good to see, like, okay, we can still win ball games because we still haven't quite played well yet.
And that's scary because you're 2-1 now, going into a very winnable game with Cumberland Gap too, and played a very winnable game against West Greene week 1. So if you claim that you really haven't played a good football game yet, and you still have the outside possibility that you could have been sitting at 4-0 with a really good chance at 3-0 right now, that's a really good outlook on the season at the moment. And that's what I asked a few of the boys after the game. I asked Yeshua and I asked Brandon after the game. You're 2-1. I think you had mentioned it, and we looked back, first winning record since 2012. You've got a good outlook on the season at the moment, and I wanted to ask them what their mindset was. And they kind of had the same thoughts, like, hey, there's a few things we need to clean up, but at the same time, we're playing winning football right now. We need to keep that going.
Yes, and that's a big thing is, and both teams can say the same thing. It's like, hey, we didn't play very well. We didn't play this well, but our guys found a way to win, and that's one thing I do know about good teams is they find ways to win, and we found a way to win.
I don't know if you watched the Saturday morning show this past Saturday.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Okay. I alluded to it, but I didn't want to say it. I mentioned program-changing win. I didn't necessarily call it a program-changing win, but I wanted to save it and ask you, do you kind of look at this game as a program-changing win or just a statement win?
I'd say it's a marquee win.
Yes.
In terms of anytime that you have a game where in the past would have gone differently, but the culture has changed, which allowed you to win the game, I'd say that is program changing in terms of that regards. Now, did we beat one of the top dogs? It's like, no, not necessarily. But Jellico was top 2 in our conference last year. They hosted the playoff game, and they went down to the wire in their playoff game last year. So, I mean, they were a good football team, and truthfully, Jellico's about 3 plays away from being 3-0 because their first game went down to the wire. Their second game, they got beat by 4 points, and then with us, they'd stop us on 4th and 18. Then they're rolling 3-0 right now. So that's a pretty big win. Now from the surface level, beating 0-3 team, it's like, well, it's not all written right there in the record. So yeah, it was a big win because now the confidence is boosted. A couple players have came up and said it's like we believe we're a good football team now.
Yes.
And that's what I think is the big changes. People around here believe we are a good football team, and that is the first step of having the program changing.
And that's what I mentioned on Saturday too. These fans deserve it. These fans have been through a lot. They've been through winless seasons. They've been through 1-win seasons. Now they're on the verge of, hey, we can have a winning season, a playoff berth, not just a playoff berth again that they've had 3 years in a row, but a home playoff game and potentially a playoff win. 2-1 at the moment, have a chance to go 3-1 next week. Those players believe that they can win ball games. They're going into the ball games not scared. They're not wavering in moments like they faced on Friday night. And I think you noticed it. You mentioned it. I noticed it, and everybody else noticed it. A lot of times that North Greene team faces adversity like that, and they don't overcome it. Your team overcame it twice.
And I will say preparation goes a lot into it. One of our coaches alluded to, we had a moment during a scrimmage versus a good team, and it was fourth and goal during the scrimmage, and we had to strap up and get a big stop there, and it kind of felt like that type of moment. And our kids stepped up and made the play on that 4th down and stopped the team from scoring during the scrimmage. And I think, like, because we had been through that before, well, now when it mattered, our kids stepped up just like in that moment, and those moments are starting to add together.
Yes.
And it's starting to happen more often now. And that thing sometimes you win those matchups, sometimes you don't, but we're starting to see more times now where our kids are starting to win those matchups now, which is good for the future.
I usually try to talk about player performances. Do we have enough time to talk about player performances today? Because, goodness, we have a lot of them. We have Thomas Darnell throwing that game-winning touchdown pass and throwing another to Brandon earlier in the game and managing that game and coming out with a win. You have Yeshua Vaught being the workhorse that he's always been. Yep. Brandon Weems having
a lights out game.
Lights out game. You have Jake Duffy didn't get on the scoreboard and put it in the end zone. But like we talked about, great
catches,
night defensively, couple key first down catches. Leon, great running the football. Unfortunately for the young kid, he had a few taken back. On another play also that I think a lot of people don't know about unless they were there is Dash jumping on that onside kick.
Yep.
What's the outcome of the game if you don't jump on that onside kick that gets away from your player? Because going back, I watched the video that I took of it, and when Jake, I think, was the receiver or the person receiving the kick, he gets hit, and the ball is laying there, but he doesn't secure the ball, and then it gets knocked away again when the other player comes in, which also I don't think the other player was supposed to do, and that was a penalty itself. But Dash ends up recovering the football. You had a lot of big plays, a lot of big tackles for losses too. I don't think we have enough time to even sit here and talk about all of them, but gutsy performance by every single player out there on the field. And we could sit here and talk for minutes about every single player on the field.
The stats are out there, but like one things that don't show up on a stat sheet is like our quarterback Thomas making great reads in the run game, because we're not able to run the ball as well as we do if he don't make good reads. And like I said, we found something that we liked, and we just kept hammering it. But there's a couple times where they start crashing down on it. He keeps it and throws it, which is kind of what makes our offense as dangerous it is. And then like Jake getting a couple big first downs when we need it, and he even ran the ball pretty well from there. And our running backs, like that doesn't show up, is how well they did in pass protection. Because we asked a whole lot out of them, especially this week in pass pro, and a couple front guys that played really well. Both these guys, Colton Suggs, had a big night. He had 4 tackles for loss total. Was in on a bunch of plays, and then Dylan Gentry had another big game, and he would have had a bigger game if Colton didn't get there first.
Yeah,
it was one of those type, and there's one play in particular. Braden Weems played lights out defensively again. He's starting to stack some really good defensive games on top of each other. But one play in particular, I remember Leon Johnson. The play, he's on the left side at linebacker. Quarterback rolls out. And he's on the left side. He outruns everybody and gets a sack from the opposite side of the field. And just that type of effort is kind of what you want to see out of your defense. And like they hurt us a bit in the past game with a couple dink and dunk plays, like right where our coverage lines meet. So we got some things to work on from there, but the effort was there. We tackled well pretty much all night, and Jake had a great day, and we try to prevent a lot of those big plays over the top in the secondary. And then if we can hone down on our contain up front when they get into the heavy sets, then our defense can be real good, because our D-line did a great job within the tackle box to kind of prevent them from getting a whole lot of movement. So they did a good job there. So I'm real pleased overall.
Credit to Jellico, too, because I don't know if I've seen a 1A team present a football game quite like they did. They had fireworks during the national anthem. They had fireworks during the team's run out. They had a smoke machine, brand new turf. The field, or not the field house, but the press box itself looks newer than a lot of 1A press boxes do. So credit to Jellico at the end of the day, because they had a pretty good presentation there for a 1A football game.
It was nice because we got to play on turf.
That's true.
Hey, if any other teams have nice stuff, it's nice for us too, because we get to play on it.
It's pretty turf.
Yep.
It is pretty. I like the color blue. Matt Weems looked good in blue. Maybe he needs to put on a Duke blue shirt.
Well, no, because he's a North Carolina fan, so he can't have that. And by the way, we have different colors for signals, by the way.
I noticed the different colored shirts. I hadn't been to a game so far this year. That was pretty interesting and pretty cool. I showed up and I saw.
Hey, I go to a Tennessee game last year and I see them. I was like, hey, I can actually see them. So I was like, maybe we should, because our kids had a hard time seeing our signal colors sometimes. So I'm like, hey, let's just put them in different colors so they can see our signals.
I walk onto the field and I don't think anybody was out there yet. And I see your dad walk out. He's got a red shirt and a red hat on. And I said, okay, that's different. Maybe that's because he's a different coach than the others, so maybe he's just wearing the red.
He signals our defense.
And then Coach Bailey comes out, and he's got that bright yellow shirt on. And I started to get it, like, okay, they're going to have different colored shirts on. And then I see you and Coach Weems walk out there with different colored shirts. But it's cool.
Hey, kids went nuts first time they saw it. So
Really?
It was kind of entertaining. Anything to make the experience a little bit better. But also, too, that does have a practical reason because, like, it's a different color than what you see on the sideline. And so they're able to see it just even that much faster.
It's easier to spot, too, because a lot of times –
I mean, that's why we use the color boards. That's why we use the stuff that we do. It's kind of help make the play calling a little bit faster.
A lot of times you move on the sidelines too. If there's a big play, you've got to move along down the sideline,
and you got to look over and see where coach at. Where's the signal? Where's coach?
They could be towards this spot between everybody, and then you move down the field. They could be more towards the middle, so it's easier to see that way.
I will say, especially at receiver, when you're on the opposite side of the field, it is real hard to see the coaches.
I can imagine that.
Side.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to do some of that.
It is pretty cool. I enjoy seeing that. Another thing I enjoy seeing is the excitement and the celebration after the game was over, because you could tell that win meant a lot to those boys too. It's not only just a marquee win, as you mentioned, but it's your first region win too. We had talked about how important it was to get that first region win on the board and to get it over a team like Jellico, as you mentioned. Hosted a playoff game last year, finished second, came close to advancing to the second round. Your boys are trying to work to be that exact team also. It was cool to see that celebration after the game. Not only when the clock hit 000 and everybody got excited after the, I'm not going to say anger, but I guess the nervousness of seeing the clock stop, and then going over, seeing them count with the fans as you always do after a win, seeing them celebrate with Yeshua after he came out onto the field after the win because he had gotten banged up. So it was a fun win. It was a fun night in Jellico. Probably the most exciting North Greene game that I've ever seen, because I don't know if I've seen North Greene ever go on 2 game-winning drives, and that's exactly what that team carried out.
Kind of wild.
But you got a game this week that serves as a non-region game before you go back into region competition. You've got Cumberland Gap this week going on the road for another long road trip. Last year was kind of easy. They came to you.
It is not as long as last week.
It is not as long as Jellico. I agree. But you do have another long road trip to Cumberland Gap this week. We'll preview that in the second half, though, so don't go anywhere and stay tuned for the second half as we preview the game against the Panthers right here on Grassroots Media.
Baileyton Drug Company services the surrounding communities of Baileyton with excellent patient care using a full-line pharmacy, over-the-counter selections, and a convenient drive-thru. When you visit us, you are treated as a neighbor, not a number. It's not just our slogan, but our culture. We're investing in our patients, local schools, and community. For over 5 years now, we have established ourselves as an independently family-run pharmacy that isn't driven by corporate goals. We are driven by what is best for your overall health and wellness. We're conveniently located so you don't have to make the drive. Prescription drugs are just the tip of the iceberg. We also offer natural remedies, essential oils, at-home medical needs such as walkers, rollators, bath accessories, as well as wound care products. And coming soon, basic urgent care services. What makes us better than other drugstores out there? When you frequent Baileyton Drug, you will receive professional, courteous, and friendly service that goes above and beyond any other pharmacy in the area. Remember, you're a neighbor, not a number.
For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
My name is Robert Starnes. I'm a lifelong resident of North Greene County, where I currently reside here with my wife and 3 children. I was a barber in Greenville for the last 6 years, but I have recently changed locations to my new shop in Baileyton. It's at 285 Mortis Hollow Lane, Afton. I'm also a proud supporter of North Greene Athletics. Come see me for all of your men and boys grooming needs. Go Huskies!
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson. So you're coming off that big win over Jellico. You're coming off another big win over Castlewood. You've got 2 straight now for the first time in your tenure here at North Greene, looking to make that 3 straight now. You're taking another long bus ride, not as long as Jellico, of course, but taking another longer bus ride over to Cumberland Gap to take on the Panthers. I know you took a loss to them last year here at home. You're looking to gain that back with a win when you travel up there to play the Panthers on Friday night. Talk about what your game plan is going into that game.
Well, the big thing is like at this point, streaks don't matter because what is in the past is in the past. So like when you're talking about a team that hasn't really done it before, is all right, you just move on to the next week, right? And then this week is all that matters. So when we come into Cumberland Gap week, all we're focused on is that they beat us last year. And we have something to prove in terms of what our execution is, and they have our full attention, because when you start looking in like, oh, we can make this streak this long, I was like, no, that's not the attitude that we're going to come in with it. It's going to be, we are worried about what this week is. Now we celebrate on what happened, but we celebrate on Monday, and then once we're done with Monday, and then we move on. We talk about flushing it. Flush it down the toilet. Now we're moving on to the next game. Kind of that old Belichick speak.
Absolutely.
We're focused on today. So we'll go out. We'll have a mental day today on kind of introducing a bit of what Cumberland Gap does. They're a little bit different look than what they were last year. They got a new head coach this year, trying to spread things out a bit and trying to throw the ball around. And their quarterback is a pretty good runner. He can make some plays with his feet, and they kind of look similar to what we do offensively in terms of same formations, and they like to use their tight end a bit to help block, and a lot of motions, and then they'll throw the ball down the field every once in a while, and they love the post wheel concept. So they do some good stuff offensively, but it is hard coming in your first year trying to implement a new system, when last year, if you remember, they were in that power T set, the misdirection stuff.
T,
so it's
you
hard.
Didn't know where the ball was going.
We'd have 3 guys tackled, and we're like, which one has the ball? And then the guy who had the ball was like 45 yards down the field.
It was one of those teams that was interesting to watch, to say the least.
So it's hard to go from that. So I commend their coaches for trying. It's hard to do, but they're improving. They played a very good South Greene team last week, so it's hard to judge last week's film. But they've done some good things defensively. They're very aggressive. They have a very similar structure to what we do in terms of alignment wise. We're going to see a lot of man coverage. They like to be aggressive and try to make plays in the backfield. I call it the marching band defense, because somebody's marching band is playing. So it's either yours or theirs about every single play. So we got to understand that they're going to make some plays. And then we have to make some plays on top of that. So they got a couple guys flying around. A lot of their guys play both ways. They have a real big safety. We'll say he's about 6'4", and their skill guys, you'll see them both offensively and defensively. And then their quarterback plays some outside linebacker. They got a few smaller linemen that can move on defense. So they're not very big, but they are fast up front, and then they kind of mix those guys up a little bit. I've seen their linebackers kind of be real aggressive. So it's we got to be ready to protect the quarterback. We got to be ready in the run game for free releasers and extra rushers. So it's kind of a little bit different than what we've seen past couple of weeks, because a lot of teams like to play base defense and just kind of react to what you do. They're on the attack. So it's a little bit different style that we've got to get prepared for this week.
I know the last few years we had just alluded to it, how Cumberland Gap was a power-heavy offense. That's how they had been the previous 2 years that I'd personally watched them, and I was told that they had been like that. a few years before that also. It was a team that would run the clock down to where you had to make the most of your possessions because you didn't know truly how many possessions you were going to get in a game. Things are different now. They're passing a little bit more now. New head coach, new system. Is it easier to game plan for the new system than it was that power offense?
Well, I definitely dislike the power offense in terms of the system
That's the way to
itself,
put it.
but it is hard to plan for when they're implementing a new system because you don't have enough to really go off of. And I mean, fortunately for us, we got 3 games worth, so you can kind of get some tendencies from there. But and the one thing that's hard, like when kids have been in a system for a while, they're not going to improve as much week to week because they've been in it for so long, where when a team has a new system for the first time for the first year, it's like you see drastic improvements each week. So you can't really base last week compared to this week because they could improve tremendously within 1 week of practice because something might click for them.
Yep.
So you got to be prepared for any of that, and you just kind of look for like, okay, who are the playmakers? Who are the ones who can make plays? Because going back and looking at the Cosby game, they made a lot of plays on the ball in the air. They had a couple interceptions, and they dropped about 2 or 3 of them too. So like they're in position to make plays. And if they make those plays, it may change the tenor of the game. So it's kind of hard to judge. So it's a good question.
I know I mentioned that you're looking to go 3-0 or 3 in a row.
Yep.
But as you said, you're looking to go 1-0 this week.
Yes.
That's the mindset as always. You're going into Cumberland Gap Friday night. As always, end of every interview.
Oh yeah.
You've got 3 keys to the game that you need to carry out in order to win that ball game. What are your 3 keys?
Great effort, great tackling, and playmakers got to make plays, and that's exactly what happened Friday night.
That is exactly what happened. And it's cool because a lot of those times when I ask the 3 keys to the game, I'll be honest, yours are easy to remember because they're all the same every single week. But a lot of other coaches, they might change a little bit. So whenever things happen on Friday night, I might not revert back to that and think of that. But that was one where you even mentioned it yourself, and I thought of it before you even mentioned it. You say playmakers have to make plays. That's the 3rd key every single week. And that's exactly what won you the ball game. The playmakers that we talk about each week made plays and carried out what they needed to do in order to get that win.
Yep, and that's one thing players realize you have so much more of an impact on a game. As a coach, I can lose a game in a heartbeat, but I can't win any. And these players, that should allow players to go out and go play free. Because knowing that, like, I just need to go make plays. I do that, we win. I can go make mistakes, that's fine. Right, but if I go free and go make plays, that's how you win ball games. So that's why it's a pretty big key.
That hits harder when you think about it. I've never heard that before. You can lose games, but you can't win games.
Yep, I can lose games, but I cannot win games.
That hits hard. I've never thought about that before. But you've got the game with Cumberland Gap on Friday night, scheduled for a 7 o'clock start time, I believe, 30 minutes earlier than North Greene is used to. But regardless, looking to carry out a win, that's all that matters on Friday night. Go into Cumberland Gap, have a fun bus ride back with another win, and hopefully we'll sit down here next week talking about a 3-game win streak. But, Coach, until then, enjoyed sitting at the round table once again, having another conversation here at the Tundra. It's not quite feeling like the Tundra yet, but
it's getting closer.
At night, it's feeling like the Tundra. So you step out in the mornings or at night, whenever the sun goes down, it's about 46. So
I'm waiting for that frost.
I'm waiting for it too. I had to get up early this morning, and I made sure to look out like it didn't hit last night, did it? It's too early, but you just always make sure because the temperatures are dropping.
We need the Tundra to be the Tundra.
It's going to feel like the Tundra here soon because it's finally starting to feel like football weather. But I'm excited for Friday night. I'll be up there.
Oh, fantastic.
So
North Greene exclusive here.
Exactly. But until next time, once again, thank you for talking to me. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber. We look forward to seeing y'all next time here on Grassroots Media.